Hello and happy Wednesday. Today on the Busy Bride podcast, I am chatting with Jess from We Are Wildflowers, a floral design business located outside Westchester. We chatted about sustainability and floral design, how cool it is to be a wedding vendor, and a sample week in the life of a wedding florist, which involves lots and lots of prep work. I cannot wait for you to hear more from Jess, so let's get into it. Hello and welcome to the Busy Bride podcast. I'm your host, Gabriella Marie, and I created this podcast to help you research vendors and learn valuable advice as you plan the most special and true to you wedding day of your dreams. Let's get started. Hello, Jess. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I'm so excited to learn more about your business, but why don't you introduce yourself first? So say your name, your business, your general location, and then maybe a fun fact about you or your business.
Okay. My name is Jess, and I'm the founder of We Are Wildflowers. And it's basically in the middle of nowhere, but we're kind of on the west side of Westchester, between like Westchester and Coatesville. And we flower everywhere. We're all over the place. So yeah. And fun fact, I am a nature lover. I've been to like a ton. I think I made it to like almost half of all the national parks in the United States, and I love going backpacking. So I'll just like kind of throw a backpack on and go for 4 or 5 days and jump out in the wild and see what's out there.
That is such a cool fun fact. I also love nature, also love national parks, but I cannot say I've been to nearly half of them. So that is a really cool thing to be able to say.
I have like a list, and I'm just like, I love being outside. I love, especially seeing like those grandiose, cool places like
the vistas at like the top of a hike, or you like come to a clearing and you're like, whoa, did not know this existed.
Right? Yeah. Which is cool too, because it kind of ties into what I do, because I'm inspired by that. Like I'll take inspiration from being in places like that and being in nature, and kind of take that with me back into the studio when I'm flowering.
Absolutely. I can so see that. So you are the founder, owner of We Are Wildflowers. Give me a little backstory on how you started this floral design business.
The backstory. I mean, I've been working with flowers and plants for forever, like as long as I can remember. I know my first job that I ever had was working with my best friend when I was 12. We were like, it was for her family, and they owned a nursery. It was like a native plant nursery, and that was my first job ever. We would weed, we would, put wreaths together, whatever they needed at the nursery. We were there, and it was so fun. That was my very first job ever, and I basically been working with plants and ever since.
That's amazing. And I'm curious what the backstory is for the name We Are Wildflowers. How did you come up with that?
So I started the business with my best friend at the time, back in I think it was 2012-ish. I'm thinking. I don't totally remember the date, actually, which is crazy. But we started it together. It was my best friend and I. We were thinking of just what could it be? What's gonna represent us? And we knew wildflowers was part of it, because that's our favorite. That's my favorite type of flower to work with. It's just something wild and very natural looking. And then we're like, wildflowers, blah blah blah. And then she was basically just like, we are the wildflower. We are the wildflowers. I was like, yes, that's it.
I love that. That's so cool. So it's just a conversation, and that ended up being like, yes,
Yep.
We are the wildflowers. I love
Yeah.
that.
But it kind of
That's
goes
amazing.
the way that it is now too. Like my the partnership in the business, it didn't work out. Still, like she's still my best friend ever. I love her, and she's just doing something else in her life. But the We Are Wildflowers part still plays because every like this idea of like friendship and has held steady, and everyone who we all work together, we're like a gang. We have it's me and all of the women who work for me and Mike too, my partner. And we it's just like basically all about friendship, and it's about doing this together and respecting each other's talents. And so it's definitely the we is so important.
That's so beautiful. I love that a lot. That's amazing. Um, so you are obviously a very big nature person. Love flowers, have been around plants for a long time. Um, did you always know that you would get into weddings and serving couples getting married with florals? Or how did that come to be?
Yeah, like the plants, the flowers, they've always been there, but as far as like the wedding part, that was kind of slower and later. And yeah, it started off very slow. It was like, doing it for a friend, and then a friend of a friend, and then a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, and that's basically just how it grew, is, you know, word of mouth, never advertised or anything like that. It's just been people.
That's so cool. So it's like a very organic way to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And really slow, steady, nothing crazy and abrupt. It's just like a slow evolution and progression.
That's beautiful.
Hmm.
So, in floral design in general, doesn't have to be specific to weddings. Do you have a favorite part about working with plants and with flowers?
Oh, favorite part. Oh my gosh, there's like so many. I mean like okay, where, there's
That
so
means
many
there's a lot of favorite parts.
so many cool things. Like so there's the people, there's like the friendship, there's being able to work with your friends and doing this together in like this really creative space. And i I love that. I love like the chaos where there's eight of us in the studio, and we're all just throwing ideas out there, and then there's flowers all over the place, and there's I love days like that. And then I also love like quiet, reflective days in the studio where it's just like, me working on my craft and just a couple stems of flowers. And, so it's that I think maybe like it's that. And then it's talking with people. I mean, I basically get to hang out with people, my clients, on like the best day of their life. So
Oh, yeah.
there's no way, like, that is so I have a job where I get to hang out with people on the best day of their life consistently. Like
It's so cool.
it is. It really is. I mean, that's you too. You're doing the same with your photography. It's just like these that everyone's happy. There's this amazing energy, and yeah, I think that's pretty incredible.
Yeah,
There's like
that's
so
such a
many.
great answer.
Those are like the ones I'm just even thinking of now. I'm not thinking of a ton of other things that are cool too. But
That's awesome. Yeah, it is really cool because you get to constantly meet new people. So you're always making friends, which is really great, especially for extroverted people like myself. And then getting to hang with them in person on wedding day when they're just so full of joy and everything is happy. And sometimes work can get to be a little stressful, during busy times of year, just because there's so much of it. But when you show up on a wedding day, it's always worth it. You're like, dang, I love what I do. Like, this is just so amazing to be here with these people who are having the time of their lives. It's awesome.
yeah. And then that's like so that's like that makes up for the times in like the fall in autumn where we're literally working every single day, like Monday through Monday, and
Yes.
you're working 12 hours a day, and you're just like, oh my, I haven't seen a day off in like 30 days or something like that. just like in the thick of it, but that is what makes it worth it.
Absolutely. So, working with couples for their wedding, what exactly do you do? Like when a couple reaches out to you and says they want flowers for their wedding day, what does that look like from your end?
So we start off we start off with a conversation. So we'll schedule a meeting, and it's usually over the phone, and we'll just start off with a conversation. We'll talk, and I get to see like where they are in their process. Um, and it's always so different. Like there's some couples who come and by the time they talk to me, they're like, I have a vision. I know what I want. I just want you to see what's in my head. If I could just go through these things, and I need this exact number of this and this, and then there's other folks who are like, I have no idea. Like, I don't even know where to start. I've never done a wedding before. Like, obviously, I've never gotten married before. And, like, or, sometimes, and the couple's just like completely starting off and kind of lost. And they don't have a vision. And which is, and there's like cool parts about both of those things. But I think it's just like the first thing is just figuring out where they are. And then, yeah, and then it's just having that meeting, talking about what they need, and then after that meeting I'll write a proposal for them. So my proposals are like they're very visual. I'm gonna like I put a bunch of photos because I kind of express myself better um, with photos rather than words, as you might be able to tell at this point. But like I'll show a bunch of photos, and I do line item things. I know some florists do and some florists don't, but I like to I like to kind of put the power in their hands of where they want their budget. So couples can decide together, like, hey, maybe we don't need to do personal flowers. And that gives us more money where we can put it towards, some kind of cool installation. And so that way they can see it all on paper, and then they make the choices of what they want to move forward with. But I like to show everybody like all of the options. Like you could do this. You could, these are your thoughts. And then we'll usually try to throw in some interesting ideas based on their venue. Cause I mean, at this point we've basically been to all of the venue. Like there's very few, maybe new ones that have just opened up we haven't been to, but we can kind of share with, our couples some interesting, cool things about certain venues and like cool places to decorate, or like a fountain they should put florals around, or, um, even like installation ideas on like floating installation ideas, because there's like a good ceiling for that, or, so it can be really venue specific.
That's really cool. Do you have a favorite type of either like installation or big floral statement piece that you love to do or to design?
They're the best installations. They're just like so fun, and it's cool to like, it's nice when it's so great when someone just gives you the leeway. They're like, do an installation however you would want to. It's the absolute best, because then you can work on like the shape and the form that you want and kind of match the space and but yeah, I think that I totally forget your question.
No, that was a question. I asked what you love about. I think what you, if you love installations or like what your favorite part about it is, but what goes into designing an installation? Because you said you take inspiration from the space, from the specific venue they're at. Like, do you kind of sketch it out ahead of time? Do you have a collage of different colors of flowers you might use? Like, what's the creative process behind that?
I think so. I am more of like a on the fly kind of artist, where it's kind of like it evolves into what it evolves into, and that definitely, it takes like a little bit of trust with our clients too, just like, the there's certain flowers that will have like they want to bend in this way, and we're just kind of listening to them. And like if you do too much planning ahead of time, like definitely plan for like a general shape and stuff like that, but then when it comes to like the small intricacies of it, just kind of let the flowers do, and some of the branching do what they do. And then that's where nature comes in. Like we're kind of uh echoing what we see in nature and bringing that in, and kind of just using them and letting the flowers and the branches and everything kind of move the way that they want.
That's so cool. And I totally get what you mean too. Um because with photography, I always go in with some sort of loose plan in mind, but with photos, the I think the variable factor is light. And so I just kind of follow the light and I do what the light is giving me. Sometimes like there's a beautiful specific shade that's being cast, or the light is peeking through this specific angle of buildings or trees and it's just doing something beautiful, or there's a shaft here and I didn't expect that and I was like, well, we have to take advantage of this now too. So I totally get what you mean, where like, yes, you go with the plan, but also you adapt to what is being given to you, in your case by the flowers and the way they want to bend and grow and lean, and then in my case by light. So totally get what you mean there.
Mhm. Yeah, just listening to the surroundings and your material. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, hey! I wanted to take a quick pause from today's episode to talk about a brand I absolutely love, Artifact Uprising. If you're in the midst of planning your wedding, you know just how many little details there are to think about. And one thing I always recommend to my couples is investing in beautiful, high quality stationery that truly reflects the style of your big day. And that's where Artifact Uprising comes in. From stunning save the dates to elegant thank you cards to custom photo books filled with your engagement photos that you can use as a guest book at your wedding, Artifact Uprising makes it easy to add a personal touch throughout your wedding journey. And as a photographer, I love the way their designs complement beautiful photos and their paper quality is top notch. So here's a little something just for you. If you use the code Gabriella15 at checkout, you'll get 15% off your order. Whether you're curating the perfect invite suite or putting together a custom guest book, Artifact Uprising has you covered with gorgeous, easy to design options that make your wedding look and feel even more special. So head over to artifactuprising.com, use code Gabriella15, GABRIELLA15 for 15% off, and start creating something beautiful today. Now let's get back to today's episode. So, do you spend a lot of time in the planning process? I guess what I'm trying to say is, do you yourself, Jess, do you oftentimes show up on wedding days, or are you more behind the scenes, planning, prepping, preserving? Do you
Mm.
fall into one of those camps more often, or do you and your team kind of share all of that the same?
I do a lot of like the behind the scenes, the planning, the buying flowers, and but I will always be there on wedding. Like, I'm always, whatever wedding, I'll always be on one of the weddings. And we do multiple weddings on like really busy weekends. We'll do multiple. So my team is like, they're so incredible that I trust them that much, where I'm like, yes, you got this. But yeah, for my day to day, or like my kind of normal week, it's like I have certain days that are like my like my flower ordering days. I'll do like Mondays, and then kind of that's like my planning for the week, where I'll like start writing my schedules for wedding days. And then I it takes a lot of organization even in the studio, just to like, if we do multiple weddings at once, I have to like, color code each wedding, and write out lists of what each designer is gonna, be in charge of creating. And so it's a lot of like that kind of planning on, those are like Mondays. And then my Tuesdays, that's my meeting day, where I'm talking to clients and like working more on like proposals. And kind of people interested or coming in. And then, yeah, Wednesday is our prep day. So we just do, that's when we prep everything. We prep like we prep every compote, and it requires a lot because we don't, we reuse everything. Like we reuse the composts that we have here. You might even be able to see them in the background, but like the composts that we use here, they've probably been to like 100 weddings. Like
Oh
they've been,
my gosh.
yeah, so we have to like take really good care of them and then prep them properly and clean them really well. And but that's part of our our sustainability standard too. Is just like we want to use them 100 times, so that way we don't have 100 dishes sitting in a landfill somewhere just like with one use plastic, you know. So but but yeah, it's so that's Wednesdays is like all of like the prepping. We're like putting chicken wire in compost. We're getting everything. We're like filling vases with water and getting them ready for all the bouquets and like all of that kind of like little stuff. And then we'll do our actual like floral production where we all get together and make the bouquets, and that's like our Thursdays. We'll just spend the whole day just flower, flower, flower. And then
Wow.
yeah, and then we roll them and we put them in the walk-in closet, like the, you know, the cooler, and then they're ready to go. And then I usually have a buffer. I try to put a buffer day in, just because I have a disaster. I always think of like what could possibly go wrong in every scenario. So I'm constantly just like, okay, make sure, yeah, I'm all about like buffer time. So I usually have a full like Friday. We'll either have a wedding that day or that's like the buffer day to, you know, get any kind of thing that we need to get or solving any disasters that might occur. Like finding that one flower that didn't show up and you have to go roam around and get it or whatever that might be.
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, and then Saturday's big wedding day. And Sunday is all about like cleanup. Cleanup is crazy. Yeah. So that's like, I mean,
I
I gave you
believe
like
it.
way too much information, but that's our
No,
usual
that's
week.
yeah, that's so interesting because I think that layout just shows like how much goes into floral design. You know, like it takes these full days to do the sourcing and the ordering, and then there's a day for designing, there's a day for cleaning things and prepping things for the design. I think it's so cool just how much goes into, you know, a pretty bouquet that you see. There's a lot that goes into that
It's
leading up to it, you know?
yeah.
It is not just a pretty bouquet. So can you touch a little bit more on your sustainability practices? I know you say you reuse a lot of composts. Is there something that you do for sustainability that maybe couples wouldn't be aware of or would love to know about?
Well, I guess we're first off, we're like, there's always more. I wish we could do 10 times more. Like, and
Absolutely.
and just like open to suggestion if people if there's any florists listening to this, or you know, people listening who have like amazing ideas, or like, oh, you know what you should do is this. I want to hear it. So this is like it's like a work in progress. We're still kind of figuring this out. But there's some things that are like we have figured out and we're just making a commitment to. We will never use floral foam. Like just disagree with floral foam completely. I just like the fact that we're putting these microplastics out there in landfills for no reason, and there's plenty of ways to get around, you know. Um, so no floral foam, and for flower foam is just basically that. Like, it's almost like styrofoam blocks, and it there's actually formaldehyde in it. There's like all these like toxic
Oh my
chemicals
goodness.
in it. Yeah, it's just it's incredibly bad for you in every kind of way. And when it's dry, you can breathe in the dry particles, and then it causes a lot of problems. But
No, thank you.
that's just like, no, we don't like that. We don't do it. And then we just try to use things. I mean, we just try to use things again and again, reuse them. If there's a way, we'll like reuse all of our chicken wire, we'll reuse all of our vases, and we'll clean out all of our bud vases, reuse them again, all the compotes, all the whatever, the urns, the everything that you can think of. And even like the installations, that's when it gets crazy, because you have these massive, even these huge installations, and they're made of like chicken wire and board and all these things. And sometimes you even have to put flower tubes like on the edge, the stems of flowers. And so the cleanup for that is insane, because you're just like, you have it all in front of you and you're just collecting things and then composting all the plant material. And so, yeah, I mean, those are the things, those are like the big things that we think about.
That's a lot. And I didn't know about the flower foam having all those toxic things in there, the formaldehyde, all the little microplastics. It makes sense. I feel like I'm at least hope, because I personally am starting to realize more of how there are lots of toxic things in our environment, and we do have the power to avoid it. And that's one of the example of those things. We're like, dang, I never thought about it, but that is crazy. And it's great that there are ways around it, like with the chicken wire you said. So
Yeah,
that's good
totally.
to know, and great that you guys are able to work around it. Um,
And then there's like the farm. You got on a topic that I love talking about. This is funny. Like, you, and stop me when you're like, okay, next subject. But that's not even talking about like the farmer, the local farmers that we work with. There are so many amazing farms just in this area. Like, I can think of like 10 farms that are within 45 minutes of my studio, and they're incredible. And the flowers are just like you can tell in a second if it's farm grown. It just looks more lush, and it's healthier, and the varieties are really unique. And then so those are all just like the regular good parts, and then you have the parts that they're not being flown, like most flowers that you see like at a grocery store. Those flowers have been on at least two airplanes. Most of them have been to to Amsterdam to be graded, and then they go to like their other spots. So they're like grown in South Africa, or, grown in South America, then flown over to the Netherlands, and then flown to the United States, usually in Florida, and then flown to like they've been on so many airplanes. So then it's like that could be problematic. There's just, yeah, there's so many different aspects. So much to learn, and so much to like, I don't know. That it's a lot. It's a lot to think about.
yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. That's crazy. I did not I knew that there were flowers that are not locally grown, come from very far away, but I didn't realize they went through so many different checkpoints or locations before arriving at the final destination. So that's crazy.
yeah, it's my favorite clients to work with, and you know people to work with are just, most of the time, once they understand that, they're like, yeah, let's work with farmers, let's do everything with let's make the whole entire wedding sustainable, and let's just not fly anything in and actually do everything from the farmers. Yes, that's those are
Love that.
yeah.
That's amazing. Is is there anything with your business with We Are Wildflowers or with the back end of Pearl Design that you do that most couples wouldn't know about or be aware of?
So we work with this amazing place in Downingtown, Pennsylvania, and they're called Petals Please, and they're incredible. They basically take donations, floral donations. So they take flowers that are already kind of assembled, and then they disassemble them and create their own bouquets that they distribute into the community. So yeah, a lot of times we'll either take full weddings and just like, hey guys, you might need these, you want these flowers, and then sometimes we'll, if we have like buckets of flowers that the color just doesn't match right for a wedding or something like that, we'll bring those flowers over to Petals Please. So yeah, their flowers are going to a good cause. So like most of the time we'll compost like anything that's left over from their weddings. But then we also donate to Petals Please if the flowers are still like looking nice.
That's amazing. I didn't know that that was a thing, so that's really cool. And I love that flowers can be reused after the wedding. I know there's some weddings where the couples will say, "Oh, take your centerpiece home," which is great, but a lot of people maybe if they're traveling in for a wedding are not able to do that. And so it's cool to know that the flowers can get reused and
Yeah,
make
there's
somebody
a
else's
second life
day.
for them.
Yeah, there's another life. I love that so much. So wrapping up here, this is a question I ask everybody who comes on the podcast, and it can be a two-part question. So the question is, what is your biggest tip for couples planning their weddings professionally? So as a floral designer from that perspective, and then personally, if you're married and you've been through it before.
I think professionally, I think trust your vendor, and like find your vendors that you actually like as people and like their work so much that you would trust that they would do what you would want them to do. So like and then leave the details with them. Like then let them stress about all of the details that you might take on. And yeah, so that way you're not stressing about a bunch of these little tiny things. Like if you have vendors that you trust, then they're going to take care of it. You can like leave it at their lap, like just all the stress, everything, all the questions, like anything they might hold, just leave it for them because they got it. that's I think that's probably my biggest pro tip.
I
And then
totally relate to that. Yeah.
right, yeah, I think even as
Mhm.
a photographer too, because you can just say like if I need something from you, I'm gonna ask you for it. As far as like your clients, like I'm gonna reach out, I'm gonna get what I need, you don't even think about it.
Yes, yeah, like we're professionals in this industry, so we know what we need and we'll make sure we get what we need to make sure that your day is as great as it possibly can because that's the end goal. Like we're here to make your day incredible in our own respective circles and we're on your team. So, I love that answer.
And then I think personally, I got married ages ago. It was probably like 25 years ago or something. But I think, oh, yeah, I would just say do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Like, it's your day. You don't have to follow the rules. You don't have to like do these things because it's expected of you or because tradition says or because no, you could do anything you want. You have the ceremony after the reception. Who cares? Like whatever, you can go ditch everyone and then go hang out and take like a little walk with your like and whatever you want. Just do that. It's your day. Have fun with it.
I love that. Amazing answer. I'm not yet married, so I cannot contribute, but that sounds great. Based on my experience as a wedding photographer, do what you want. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, Jess. It was so amazing chatting with you, hearing about all the inner workings and design aspects of your business. And I hope to work with you again soon.
Absolutely. It was great talking with you.
That was such a lovely chat. I have so much respect for Wedding Florist for all the many, many details and prep work that goes into the beautiful florals I get to photograph on wedding days. And talking to Jess, I could just tell that she lives and breathes flowers, plants, and nature. So it was really cool to see her come to life talking about those passions. If you have not booked your wedding florist yet, you should definitely check out We Are Wildflowers. You can find them on Instagram at We Are Wildflowers, all one word, and their website, www.we-r-wildflowers.com. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate your time. Now, go hug your person, and I will see you next Wednesday.